What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this. Well, it's time to stop. Stop this awful trope. What trope? Well, this trope. Nerd! Today it seems there are a handful of villains, all the same in comic book movies. You've got the galaxy brain thinking they are doing things all for the greater good, like Thanos or Lex Luthor. There's also the guy who was spurned by a hero, or in the MCU's case, guys who have been mugged off by Iron Man, like Vulture and Mysterio, going around being evil because of Tony Stark didn't let them clean up dangerous tech or called their tech Bath. But by far there is one trope that has existed as long as the modern comic book movie has existed. The good and nice nerd turned evil by the machinations of the hero or the evil villain. It's one which we first saw in Batman Returns with the stunning Michelle Pfeiffer turned into an unattractive nerd. But what did they do to limit her looks? Well, they dressed her frumpy and gave her glasses. She's downtrodden and looked down upon until she suddenly stops wearing glasses, and Bruce Wayne instantly wants some of that coochie after her baffling she's all that transformation. Now that's another video for another time, as the woman being shown her worth when she gets attractive is a really gross one, as they're always attractive to begin with, just like 10 Things I Hate About You. Now, while Selina Kyle stood up for herself, she's only deemed attractive until the glasses come off and she turns into a mad femme fatale. Admittedly, she has the better of all of these tropes, as we got it again in the Batman franchise with Poison Ivy, played by Uma Thurman in the Batman movie that was so bad it ruined my Pizza Express visit in the 90s when that was the Disneyland of pizza places, although that has now been ruined by Prince Andrew revealing that he is a connoisseur of an American hot. I can be a shill at times, but my kid ass was not playing ball with that movie. And in this movie, yes, Batman and Robin, we got a glasses nerd with Uma Thurman being everyone's favourite botanist termed femme fatale, completely being downtrodden and turned on, and she returns as a sexy villain. If it's a male nerd, he comes back a badass. If it's a female, she returns as a sexy femme fatale. Weirdly, she reverts back to this nerdy look when she does a Greta Thunberg and confronts Bruce about the ecological effects of Wayne Enterprises. But she does have a simp bane, which is, funny enough, what happened again in the Batman franchise with Dark Knight Rises. Simp. Now, as well as this, there was also another Batman character who had the glasses nerd turned into an evil villain. Yes, that was Edward Nigma, played by Jim Carrey, and personally, I haven't really got a lot to say about this one because I really liked it. Out of all the ones I'm going to talk about in this video, this was one of the ones which was done the absolute best in my opinion. But my god, in the 2010s and now 2020s, it hit heavily. I mean, we had two villains back to back in years, from nerdy, meek guys right into badass villains with Iron Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which, funny enough, wasn't amazing. Yes, in 2013's Iron Man, which itself was beyond divisive, I thought Shane Black did a good job after Iron Man 2, which felt, a bit kind of, meh. He had a humorous opening as we're introduced to Guy Pearce's Aldrich Killian, who Tony treated like he was Romy or Michelle before that fateful school reunion. We have Tony stitch him up in a douchebag, and interestingly, all of Tony's post-cave life is him atoning for his crimes of being an absolute Chadzilla, and actually, even after this, it extends to him being a dick afterwards, with his employees all teaming up to steal his legacy. So Aldrich managed to fix his disability, yes, using extremists, but after this absolute glow-up...
I said certified freak 7 days a week. Wet ass P-word. Make that pull-out game weak.
He then went on to be an albeit charming absolute D-bag. But what does this message say? Tony should be nice to everyone lest they do keto, fix their looks, and become an evil guy with regenerating limbs? We then have the next year a similar meek nerd become another secondary villain in the beyond awful Amazing Spider-Man 2. Of all the crimes of this movie and the forgettable shit stain of a Spidey franchise, bridging the Kino Sam Raimi to the GOAT MCU Spidey, this movie also makes Electro just look absolutely awful. And the fact he's returning is, yeah, I'd rather not talk about that. Continuing on as well the trend of turning attractive people into conventionally less good-looking people, Jamie Foxx takes on the role of Dylan and the then Electro, but he's nerdified here, looking like a total point Dexter and downtrodden by his co-worker left behind to fix an electricity problem on his birthday. However, before this, Dylan is saved by Spider-Man while the future Rhino tears New York up. My God. Well, Dylan becomes a crew card-carrying webhead. While the rest of the movie was lackluster, verging on parody, I did like the scene that really got Spidey. He inspires people and he puts some oomph into Dylan to believe he is a somebody, but Dylan then becomes inspired and becomes unhealthily obsessed, even pretending that Spider-Man made him a cake. However, we do get a payoff later when Dylan loses control of his powers and, yep, you guessed it, dislikes the hero, just like each one we have in this video. Not content with the nerd to villain trope being in Marvel movies, DC hit back after owning the nerd to hero stereotype. They returned with Wonder Woman 1984, which was trash, as Barbara Minerva, played by Kristen Wiig, who I actually really liked. She was kind, knowledgeable, yet nice to a fault, as she gets forgotten until she gains a wish to be just like Diana, and later becomes Cheetah and fights to retain her new life. Now, while I like this idea, you can see by now why I have such fatigue with this trope. I'm not saying the MCU have done it better, because my God, they love to have boring villains, which are just the opposite of the hero, which originated with Iron Man fighting another guy in a suit, copied by Ant-Man fighting a guy who was called Yellow Jacket. I know it's from the comics, but yeah, come on. We didn't even get a decent villain really until the Winter Soldier, in my opinion, and then of course they turned him good, just like they did with Loki. Heck, maybe all comic book villains are awful, and honourable mention goes to Hector Hammond of Green Lantern. Yes, the movie even Ryan Reynolds makes fun of at every single opportunity. Hey, I didn't mind it. He just wanted Carol Ferris, but yeah, he was a nerdy, unattractive guy who gets the rage, albeit, yes, this one kind of makes sense, but my message, please stop with the adorable origin stories of comic book villains. I can't anymore. It's just an episode of Big Bang Theory when they stub their toe and then get rage. Yeah, that's a terrible analogy, just like these villains. But that's it for this video. I'll see you soon, and goodbye.